Howdy everyone, Desert Horizons, AZ Off-Grid Unplugged, 3 hours cabin ranch. Dogs were just going crazy, and I looked out the window and somebody was walking down the road. Of course the dogs were going so crazy they didn't bother to, or didn't dare come any closer. Anyway, I wanted to start this out with saying how much I appreciate all the well wishes I got from the last video on my sciatica. I can say it's 99% better. Only having to use the heating pad a couple of times a day for short periods. I just also wanted to say how dismayed I am to hear how many people suffer from the same ailment or even similar ailments. I had no idea it was this widespread. But thank goodness for YouTube, like I said, because I was able to find not necessarily cures, but remedies to help mitigate the pain, and they have helped tremendously. So anyway, this video is going to be about I lived in town in Tucson in a house for just over 4 years, so I know exactly what that cost. And I've lived here for almost 4 years, so I know exactly what this costs. And my expenses are pretty much fixed living here now. Almost completely done paying for the cabin. I think it's just 3 more payments left and then I'm done with that. But very much an eye-opener, and it only takes about 2.5 minutes to go through the whole thing I got set up for it. If you grab a piece of paper and a pen, and you don't have to share this information with anybody, it's strictly personal, it's up to you, but write down what your mortgage payment or rent payment is, what your electricity bill is. If you have gas or propane, write down what that is. And for the mortgage payment, I use the whole PITI part, the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, because that's the way you pay the bill. So if that's what you got, mark that down. Oh, and also water and sewer and garbage, because those are expenses you can't get rid of. I'm not going to include food or clothing or pet care, because everybody has different expenses, different amounts, different appetites. I'm still trying to recover from the full week I went. Without eating a thing. Fasted for a whole week, and that kind of played a number on my body. And there's Ruger over there. He was laying in the shade. Like I said, they were just barking at somebody or somebody. I know, I saw him. So, but yeah, if you got those numbers written down, I'll get to the. The rest of the video is going to be basically about math, and I know how much that's not a favorite subject of everybody, but it's important that you write your numbers down so that you have a clue what you're dealing with. I learned years ago that the only way to save any money was write down a budget and mark down exactly what I was paying for everything. And it blew my mind how much money I was able to save over just the course of a year once I wrote down a budget, and I accounted for everything. If any of you have heard of Dave Ramsey, he's my financial guru. And on that budget, you spend every penny you've got, every penny of income, whether the final expenditures turns up to be the miscellaneous category, you still spend every penny on paper for all your bills, car payments, insurance, everything. So that at the end of the piece of paper, you have zero money left. I would highly recommend, if you're having any financial difficulties at all, look up Dave Ramsey. He does YouTube videos. I don't know if he still does his radio show anymore. But that was where I came introduced to him, was when I was driving truck and had my satellite radio so I could catch him from just about anywhere. This is back in 2007, 2008. So, and that's what helped me just figure out that I was not going to be able to live the life I wanted to on the money that I had coming in, and I knew that I wasn't going to have enough for retirement to retire on. So I had to figure out ways to save money, and that's how I ended up here. So let's get to the math part of it. Okay, this is going to be the on-grid versus off-grid cost comparison, 4 years living at each. And I'm doing my costs as PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, of $489 a month. The electricity, I had it on the budget payment plan of $65 a month. My gas was also on a budget payment plan of about $45 a month, if I remember correctly. Water and sewer was about $35 a month, if I remember correctly, and garbage was $18 a month. So all that added up to just less than $8,000 for a year, or less than $32,000 for 4 years. So to live off-grid, I had the price of the cabin, which I bought it for about $8,400. The rent-to-own price was $14,600. That was if I made all the payments on the schedule. But I ended up paying about $11,848 because I paid extra payments. I paid bigger payments. The solar was less than $6,000, but I budgeted on here $6,000. The water tanks, that's for 3 tanks I have, came to, plus the 4 fills of $160 each, came to less than $4,000. But same thing with the propane. I over budgeted, but it's about $1,100 for 2 tanks plus 11 fills. And then the finishing the cabin, $5,000. Now that was for the carpeting, the floors. All I did for that, the $1,500 for insulation, $250 for the walls, $400 refrigerator, $550 for the couch, $200 TV stand, $185 for the heater, $250 for shelves and cabinets, $300 for the Berkey water filter, $160 for swamp cooler, $250 paint and trim boards, and $405 for miscellaneous, which is nails and screws and paint and whatever else you want to figure into all that. So the total for the cabin for 4 years has come to $27,948. And like I said, that's over budgeting, so it's actually less than that. But it's about $32,000 or a little bit less to live in town for 4 years, and the prices are not going to be going down. The prices for the cabin again was less than $28,000. So for 10 years living in town would cost me about $80,000. 10 years to live here would be about $31,000. And that was if I refill the water at $160 per year, the refill of propane at $150 per year, and possible one-time replacement of 16 batteries at a cost of $2,000. So even if I doubled those, paid $2,000 for the water, $2,000 for propane, and $4,000 for batteries, I would still be less than $34,000. So, it's a matter of priorities. What's important to you? Do you want to have extra money? Or do you want to continue living in town and paying all what you're paying? Again, this is at my mortgage payment of $500 a month. So if the odds are your mortgage payment is more than $1,000 a month, or your rent payment is close to $1,000 a month, you can see that, especially if you wrote down your own figures, how much cheaper it would be to live off-grid than it is on-grid. You can take these numbers for what they're worth and do with them what you want. That's Ruger's hiding spot over there behind the tree. Poor Ruger.